Please begin.
Mr. Buechler, I believe you're more limited on time. If you would care to
Alrighty.
line it up, I'll knock it down.
I'll line it up. You knock it down because I can barely read my notes here. So, where do I start? Okay, there's political content. People are political. We've always known what side Hollywood is mostly on political, and there's activism, bringing politics into the fandom and dividing fandom with their marketing and their storytelling, which Disney Star Wars is absolutely guilty of. And hey, that's, if you want to talk about Mad Max, and you went from it being an environmental message to an anti-nuclear war message. And I would say, well, I think everybody's against nuclear war. I'm pretty sure most people are against nuclear war. That makes it moral. I think that's a pretty objective moral thing. We all don't want to die and be vaporized by nuclear bombs, right? Can we all agree on that? I think we can all agree on that. That's not environmentalism. You're against nuclear war.
Morality is determined by the majority.
I want to hear Gary, but I can explain. Go ahead.
But the whole point of that is just because we're against one specific thing doesn't mean we're for the other thing. Do you understand what I'm saying? For politics, what happens with Disney Star Wars specifically is yours truly, Chris Gore, our judge, many others have been called alt-right. And not just by Access Media members, by people who work at Lucasfilm. That's specifically the activism I'm talking about. Throwing out that kind of hyperbolic bullshit that divides the fandom and automatically turns people off on their side and on whatever side that is. I'm not a Republican, by the way. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I'm an independent, and I've always been my entire life. So that's where I come from. So whatever form of activism, I just give my opinions. I've never told anybody to not go see a movie, see whatever you like whatever you like. It's just my opinion. So when it comes to, hey, Mad Max and Road Warrior, awesome movies. But we can talk about Fury Road a little bit, which is, it's a good movie that definitely has messaging, feminist messaging in it. And that's pretty much what Disney Star Wars has become, intersectional feminism. Not even feminism, intersectional feminism. You're aware of the Bechdel test. I'm sure some people are aware of the Bechdel test. The cartoonist who created it did it as a joke, and now it is a Bible for Hollywood. So you can't have two women talking about a man. They have to be alone talking about something other than a man. That's just one of the things. Man, Disney really does that. The problem is that hampers storytelling. Right? You can have two dudes talking about a woman all day long, but you can't have two women talking about a man. That's just one example. Intersectional feminism is the force is female. That is activism. That is divisive. When you could just say the force is the force. I mean, Metachlorians was bad enough, George, but now it's the force is female. That's one. When we get to politics and activism, specifically, I always look for a balance in Hollywood. That's why I never had a problem with it before. I knew like one thing will be one side will be the other. That's fine. But as a whole, as Disney, as a company, as a whole, as it is right now, we can compare it to another franchise. We can compare it to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I lovingly call the MCU, a term that has caught on. And why is it caught on? Because it's true. And you know who announced it? Kevin Feige. So that's in the building. That is their partner. That is a subsidiary of the parent company. And what did the parent company recently get caught saying? What did a major executive, LaToya Revenue, what did she get caught saying when they decided to get political and fight the state of Florida over the parental rights bill? What did she say? She said, our not so secret gay agenda. I just really don't know how that can't be perceived as absolute activism. And if you don't think that's happening at Lucasfilm, just go to their whiteboard for the story group. Diversity was so important to them. And they had to put it up there twice, right up there with dinosaurs. And what have we gotten? A lot of diversity, and we got some dinosaurs. If you saw Mandalorian season 3, and you know what it all had in common? It sucked. So I'm gonna line it up again. I could have said a lot more, but I'm limited on time. I apologize, but thank you. Go Legal Mindset.
All right, we'll start with Sam. Sam, I want to say, first of all, I appreciate your candor with the court. It's a duty of an attorney, especially, or 3 duties. One is to alcoholism, then the other one is to candor with our clients, and of course the court. But your candor, your true candor, that indeed, Star Wars is about communism, and that's very, very, very true. And that intersectionality, communism, socialism, these things do go hand in hand, right? These things do go hand in hand. And certainly at Lucasfilm, you support communism, intersectionality, feminism, or really anything you can slap an ism on and throw
any
it into
decent
a
person
community
would.
support group. Yes, of course, and not, of course, a far right activist like Mr. Buechler. Now, one thing I will say is that unfortunately for you at Lucasfilm, all of this sucking on the teat of your communist overlords, unfortunately, has failed. Because not only did your superiors in Beijing, so the north over here, fail to turn out, because apparently turning Poe, hiding his blackness, was not enough to bring box office numbers in Shanghai. No, that was not enough. But indeed, the folks at home, the 5th column back at home, did not show up for the film, because the storytelling itself was ruined by the activism and the clear preference for intersectionality and communism within the film. And to pivot into the point for Mr. Ozark, all of the films that were brought up by Mr. Ozark, which, by the way, fantastic films. Requiem for a Dream, one of my favorite films, actually.
Great movie.
Great movies, all of them, Mr. Ozark. But you make a fair point. This was a different era. And I dare say, Mr. Ogre, I dare not label you as a boomer, perhaps your silent generation. I respect your service. That being said, these movies were in an era in which you could intertwine a political message with a story, but make yourself still be immersed in that story. Look no further than what you mentioned, but also other things like, for example, Japanese anime, which is still popular to this day because it continues to incorporate many of these messages: environmentalism, anti-war, right? Princess Mononoke, if people know that, Nausicaa, right? But it is not ruined by the experience, because it is not pervaded by a sick, twisted sense of intersectionality which pervades storytelling, gender, race, time, and pure logic. And last but not least, the only films that are on trial here today is Star Wars, for the death and failure of Star Wars. We're not here to litigate Mad Max. We're not here to litigate other franchises or stories. This is about why Star Wars is dead. And there's no other reason but the activism of Lucasfilm.
I can also add real quick that there is anti-capitalist messaging, and we have to divide the Lucasfilm that George Lucas owned and Disney Star Wars, because Star Wars is dead. But there is anti-capitalist messaging in The Last Jedi. There is an anti-capitalist message in the trailer for Indiana Jones 5 and the Dial of Dysentery. So, and you would be hard pressed to convince me that anybody is pro-capitalist in the Lucasfilm story group. I'd love to hear it. I know we're also just talking about Star Wars, but apparently thinking a concentration camp in China only takes you so far.
And Your Honor, if I may correct the record, it was Finn, not Poe. I do stand corrected on the person they tried to erase the blackness of. So please correct the court record. Have the reporter correct that.
Shrink them.
Absolutely, we can correct it.